The hour when the world's noise finally settles, and the strange things make themselves known. I'm Sterling Gray. You're listening to Strangely Odd. Pull up close. We've got a long night ahead of us. Tonight, friends, I want to talk about a book. Not a famous book. Not a bestseller. Not the kind of thing you'll find on anyone's shelf today. But a book that, for a whole generation of Americans, lived in a school library. Quietly, shelved between the encyclopedias and the Hardy Boys, waiting for the right child to reach past all the ordinary things and pull it out. The cover was plain. The title was matter-of-fact, strangely enough. By C.B. Colby. Whoever picked it up generally didn't put it down for a while. Carroll Burleigh Colby was born in 1904. Glider pilot, war correspondent, a man who flew with the Army Air Forces in the Second World War. He wrote more than 100 books, most of them perfectly respectable. Aircraft, tanks, the hardware of war. But he also kept a newspaper column called Adventure Today, and that's where he collected the other stories. The coffins that moved by themselves in a sealed underground vault in Barbados. A television signal received in England in 1953 from a Houston station that had gone dark 3 years before. 100 miles of unexplained footprints in the snow across Devon, England in February 1855. Single file, through fields and over rooftops and through drain pipes, and nothing in creation to explain what made them. In 1959, he collected 80 of those accounts into a book. He called them True. The library shelved them in nonfiction. C.B. Colby died on the 31st of October, 1977. Halloween night. Whether that's coincidence, I'll leave that to you, friends. Tonight, Dr. Edmund Rowe joins me. He's a British folklorist and cultural historian. He spent years tracing how books like Strangely Enough quietly shaped what Americans believe about the unexplained. We're going to dig into Colby's world tonight and ask whether any of it was ever really true. We'll be right back.
Strangely Odd with Sterling Gray. We'll be right back. Stay close. And whatever you do, don't touch that dial.
This is Strangely Odd with Sterling Gray. It's after midnight somewhere. Truth is, it's always after midnight here. The world goes quiet, and the strange gets loud. Wherever you are tonight, friend, you are not alone out there. Stay with us. You ever wish you could keep reading after the show ends? The Night Atlas Book Club is for you. One title a month, hand-picked. Out-of-print paranormal classics, oral histories from witnesses who never wrote books of their own, the occasional novel that gets at the truth sideways. Mailed to your door, wrapped in brown paper. This month, we're reading a memoir by a Forest Service tower watcher who spent 12 summers in the Cascades. Saw some things. Wrote them down. Most of them, anyway. Night Atlas Book Club. Find us at nightatlas.club. $12 a month. Cancel anytime. But you won't want to.
You're listening to Sterling Gray on Strangely Odd. Keep it right here, Night Owls. The night isn't done with us yet.
And we're back. Tonight's guest is Dr. Edmund Rowe, folklorist, cultural historian, and, I should say it plainly, someone who genuinely cannot stop thinking about a children's library book from 1959. Dr. Rowe, welcome to Strangely Odd.
Thank you, Sterling. And I resent that slightly.
Do you?
Well, I've been described that way before, and, honestly, it's fair. But I'd argue it's entirely reasonable, because what Colby assembled is genuinely remarkable.
Tell me who he was.
So, Carroll Burleigh Colby, born 1904. Not a household name even then. He was a very practical man in most respects. Glider pilot, war correspondent. He'd covered the Army Air Forces, wrote dozens of books about military hardware. But he had this other current running through him, a fascination with the anomalous. And he kept a newspaper strip for years called Adventure Today, where he'd write these short accounts. 2 or 3 paragraphs, really. Here's a strange thing that happened. Here's what we know. Here's what we don't.
No resolution.
Almost never. And that's actually the whole engine of why the book works.
He puts it all together in 59.
1959. Sterling Publishing. Small hardcover. 80 or so accounts. And it ends up in school libraries across the United States. Children encounter it, not in the horror section, not in folklore or mythology. In nonfiction.
Which is where it stayed.
Which is where it stayed. Right next to the science books.
Walk me through some of the stories.
Right. So the one I find most illustrative of what Colby was doing is the Barbados Vault. The Chase family vault, Barbados. Early 19th century. Sealed underground tomb. Lead coffins, some of them weighing hundreds of pounds. And every time the vault was opened to add a new burial, the coffins had been moved. Thrown about, some of them standing nearly upright.
In a sealed space.
Sealed. And they tried everything to explain it. The last time they opened it, they'd filled the floor with fine sand to detect any footprints. When the vault was opened, the sand was undisturbed, not a single mark. And every coffin had been moved again. They eventually just relocated the remains, abandoned the vault entirely.
Did Colby actually investigate any of this himself?
That's the thing. I don't think so. Not in any field researcher sense. He was a collector. Accounts that came through his newspaper work, through correspondence, through letters. Which puts him very much in the tradition of Charles Fort, actually.
The father of Fortean phenomena.
Exactly. Fort spent decades in libraries going through newspaper archives, collecting anomalies. Never went anywhere. Just gathered. Colby was a Fortean, working for the mainstream press.
What about the television signal?
Now that one, I think, is the most genuinely modern-feeling story in the whole book. 1953. An engineer in England picks up a television broadcast. Very clear reception. Station identification letters from a Houston, Texas television station.
Across the Atlantic.
Across the Atlantic, which would already be remarkable, technically speaking.
But
that Houston station had ceased broadcasting 3 years earlier.
so it's a signal from a transmitter that doesn't exist anymore.
A ghost broadcast. And various ionospheric theories have been put forward. None of them hold up cleanly.
New England's darkest day.
May the 19th, 1780. The sky went dark across New England. Midday felt like midnight. The Connecticut legislature actually adjourned because, and this was said on the floor, they believed it was Judgment Day.
And candles at noon.
Candles at noon, yes. Chickens went to roost. The frogs started singing. The stars came out. Best current theory is wildfire smoke combined with low cloud cover. But that's a theory, and a somewhat unsatisfying one.
And in 1780, you couldn't verify it either way.
You certainly couldn't. And what Colby knew was that the sky went black, and people were genuinely terrified.
Tell me about the footprints.
This is a documented historical event, Sterling. That's what people need to understand. February the 8th, 1855. People across Devon, England, wake up after a night of snow, and they find a trail of hoof-like prints. single file, 4 inches across, about 8 inches between each mark, and they cover, estimates vary, somewhere between 100 and 200 miles of terrain. Through fields, over rooftops, across haystacks, through drain pipes too narrow for any living creature to pass through.
Through drain pipes.
The Times of London covered it. Church attendance went up sharply the following Sunday. People in Devon called them the Devil's Footprints. And nobody ever explained them.
To this day.
To this day.
There's one in the book called The Whistle. I've had more people mention that story than any other.
Yes, and it's almost nothing. That's precisely why it works. An old woman, an isolated house, a small dog, a sound she hears at night that can't be explained and cannot be identified, and the dog's reaction to it.
How does it end?
It doesn't.
Colby just leaves it there.
He says, "This happened." She reported it, the dog reacted, and that's all we have.
There's one called No Grass on the Grave.
John Newton, Wales. A man wrongly convicted, at least that was the local belief, and hanged. He declared from the scaffold that no grass would ever grow on his grave as proof of his innocence.
And?
For over a century, the grave stayed bare. The grass grew all around it, just not there.
A century.
Local people would make a point of going to look. It became a kind of landmark of guilt that wouldn't be covered over.
Now, some of these stories have been looked into since the book came out. Not all of them hold up.
No, some of them don't. The vanishing riverboat story, the Iron Mountain, supposedly gone forever on the Mississippi in 1872. There's an actual historical record of what happened to it.
He invented it.
I think he passed on a story that was already circulating and didn't verify it. He was a journalist, a very good one, but not a researcher in the academic sense.
What do you make of that?
Here's the thing I keep coming back to. The ones that are debunkable, they leave you feeling cheated. Fine. But the ones that aren't, the coffins, the footprints,
Wow.
New England's darkest day, those feel different. Those feel like something is still genuinely open.
And they're all in the nonfiction section.
Next to the science textbooks. That was the frame. That was Colby's gift, and his sin, maybe.
Why did it work so well in 1959 specifically?
I think about that a lot. It's the Sputnik era, the atomic age. People are being told that science explains everything, and simultaneously living with anxieties that science absolutely cannot touch. The bomb, the void. Into that moment walks a man with a book full of things that happened, and the library says, true.
A crack in the rational world.
Exactly. And I think children feel that crack more acutely than adults. Adults have defenses, ways of filing things away. Children reading Colby had none of that.
He died on Halloween.
October 31st, 1977. Yes.
Did you know that when you first started writing about him?
I found out fairly early in my research, and I'll be honest, it gave me a small and genuine chill.
I imagine.
Now, whether that means anything at all, I genuinely couldn't tell you. But it was a very Colby kind of ending for a Colby kind of life.
What did that book do to that generation?
I think, for many of those children, it was the first time they encountered the idea that the world might not be fully explained. Not through horror fiction, where you can always say, well, it's made up. but through something sitting in nonfiction that the school had officially vetted and shelved. The library was saying, in some institutional sense, these things happened.
The library stamped it true.
In a way, yes. And what's remarkable is how many people remember that book specifically. Not, I read a lot of odd books as a kid, but that book, that particular book. They remember the cover, Sterling. They remember which story they read first, and a very specific kind of unease that followed them out of the library.
The feeling that the world wasn't closed.
Exactly that. The world wasn't closed. Something had gotten through.
And for a lot of them, it never closed again. Dr. Rowe, has anything ever happened to you, personally? Something you couldn't explain?
Ah. I am a folklorist. Professional skepticism is, more or less, required.
Of course.
That I was doing field work once. Wales, a very old farmhouse, middle of the night. And I heard a sound I've never been able to identify.
What kind of sound?
Not mechanical, not animal. A tone. Almost sustained. Almost musical, but not quite. Lasted perhaps 40 seconds, then it stopped.
What did you do?
I sat very still and thought about the whistle,
Ha!
which is probably exactly what Colby would have wanted.
I want to hear from some of those people. We're going to open the lines right after this break. Dr. Edmund Rowe, don't go anywhere.
Keep the lights low and the radio on. Strangely Odd with Sterling Gray returns after these messages.
Folks, if your bookshelf doesn't yet hold a copy of Cryptozoology Monthly, you are missing out on the finest field reporting in the country. Sasquatch sightings, lake monsters, the things our official science likes to pretend don't exist. 12 issues a year, delivered in a plain brown wrapper, because we know not everyone in your house is ready for the truth. Cryptozoologymonthly.com. Tell them Sterling sent you. You're listening to Strangely Odd. If you've got a story, something you saw, something you can't explain, something that's been sitting with you for years, the lines are always open. We don't laugh here, we listen. Call in, tell me. You're among friends now.
From wherever the signal finds you tonight, this is Strangely Odd with Sterling Gray. Welcome back to the Strange Hours.
And we're back with Dr. Edmund Rowe. The lines are open, and they lit up the moment I announced tonight's topic. It turns out, a lot of you found that book. Let's go to Donna, calling in from Indiana. Donna, you're on.
Sterling, oh my gosh, thank you for taking my call. I found that book in my school library. Must have been around 1968. I was in 4th grade. And I remember the story about the vault, the coffins. I read it, and then I put it back, and then I went back and got it again. I couldn't stop. My friend Patty, we were in the same class, she read it too. And we used to whisper about it at recess like it was a secret, you know, because we felt like we'd found something we weren't supposed to know about. And I remember standing there in that library thinking, this is in the nonfiction section. This is supposed to be real.
Did it stay with you?
I'm 58 years old, and I still think about those coffins, Sterling.
Donna, thank you for calling in. Dr. Rowe, does that surprise you?
Not in the slightest. That's exactly the pattern I kept finding. The specific story remembered decades later. The library framing remembered. And that detail she mentioned, going back to get it again, that's almost universal. You put it down because it scared you, and then you went back for it.
Because the fear was the thing you wanted.
Because it meant something was real. Or might be.
Let's go to Ray. Ray, you're on the air.
Yeah, hi Sterling. Long-time listener. So I actually went back and tried to verify some of the stories in that book. Like, I'm an engineer. I like to dig into things. And I found out some of them, they're not true, right? But here's the thing that got me. The devil's footprints. I looked that one up. And that one has actual newspaper coverage from the time. The Times of London, 1855. So you've got this book that's got some invented stuff mixed with things that actually happened. Like, where's the line between the real ones and the made-up ones? I still don't know. And when you're 12 and you can't tell the difference, that really does something to you, man.
Dr. Rowe, Ray's put his finger on something there.
He really has. The mix. That's what makes it powerful and in some ways irresponsible. Because you can't opt out. You can't say, I'll believe the real ones and discard the rest, when you can't tell which is which.
Ray, that's the exact tension. Thank you. Marcy, you've been holding on. Marcy, go ahead.
Hi, yeah. Sterling, I want to talk about the whistle. Because I read that story when I was maybe 9 or 10, and something happened to me a few years later. I was staying at my grandmother's place out in the country, middle of the night, and I heard something outside the window. Not wind, not an animal, not anything I couldn't put a name to it. And my grandmother's dog, he was under the bed. He would not come out.
Oh, boy.
And I kept thinking about that story. The whistle, the old woman, the dog. And I remember my grandmother. She heard it too, from her bedroom. I could see her light come on under the door, but she never said anything about it in the morning. I don't know what it was. I never found out. It stopped, eventually, and that was it.
Has it ever happened again?
No, just that one night.
Marcy, thank you for calling in. One more call before we move on. No name on the board for this one, just a number I don't recognize. Caller, go ahead.
Sterling Gray.
I know that voice.
Still on the air. Good.
You're calling from a long way off, aren't you?
Farther than last time. The window's been narrow on your world line lately.
What's it like where you are?
Hot. Most of the northern coast cities they've moved back from the water. Not abandoned, just further inland than you'd expect them to be.
How far inland?
Enough that you'd notice if you visited. Some places, 10 miles. 20. People adapted. That's the thing people underestimate about your species.
Our species.
Your present version of it.
What year?
Doesn't matter for you. What matters is, I wanted to tell you something. Something small.
Go ahead.
There's a day coming. August 2031 on your line. A solar event. Not catastrophic, but the grid in Central North America goes down for 11 days.
11 days.
And here's the thing about it, Sterling. People remember it well. In my time, they talk about it the way you talk about a storm. Like it was just weather. Like it was natural.
Does it change things?
Everything changes things. But that one is when people stopped assuming the lights stay on.
How far off are you from our line right now?
Running about 63% divergent. Which means I probably shouldn't be too specific. But I shouldn't have told you that either. And I always do.
You always do. What does 2097 look like? The day-to-day of it.
Quieter than you'd expect. Less noise. People move differently. Less urgency in the small things. The things that kept your century spinning so fast, most of those are gone.
Is that better or worse?
Different. I have to go. The window's closing.
Are you ever going home?
That's a harder question than it sounds.
I know.
Take care of your lights, Sterling Gray.
I'll do that. We'll take a short break. Sometimes the puzzle has been in front of you the whole time, hiding in plain sight. The numbers you're about to hear cannot be cracked from the broadcast alone. You need a key. As always, that key lives somewhere else in tonight's show, not in the cipher. Consider where things are kept when someone wants them to last a long time. Knowing where to look is 9/10 of the answer, friends. Something in how I've been starting these lines might just reward a second listen.
Attention. Attention. Begin message. 12010 51425 11121 20909 24190 4. Message ends. Message ends.
There she is. Find the key, crack the cipher, and email your answer, along with tonight's episode number, episode 56, to doublesecretlabs@gmail.com. Get it right, and your name goes in the hat. Win, and one of these nights your phone could ring, and a number could reach this very studio. The strange hours are waiting for you, friends. Let's take that final break.
Don't go wandering off into the dark just yet. Strangely Odd with Sterling Gray returns in just a moment. Stay with us.
Tonight's broadcast, like every broadcast, is brought to you by Double Secret Labs. Double Secret Labs. Their slogan? We do science, so you don't have to. Now, what kind of science exactly? That's a fair question, friends. I've asked. They don't say. And I'm not sure anyone outside that building could tell you what goes on inside it. But the check's clear, the lights stay on. So do yourself a favor, friends. Like and subscribe to Double Secret Labs. And find the show itself, Strangely Odd, on YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Take us into the dark with you. Double Secret Labs. We do science, so you don't have to. And that is where we'll leave it tonight. The sky's going gray at the edges. Dawn's coming, whether we're ready for it or not. Thank you for riding out the dark with me. It's easier in company. Get some sleep, night owls. The strange will keep till tomorrow. I'm Sterling Gray. Sleep easy, if you can.